And now, Warming Center Wednesdays with the Flathead Warming Center and KGEZ's John Hendricks, where we tackle hard conversations around the complex causes of homelessness and discuss how we as a community can collaborate to address them.
And joining me today from, he was a former Kalispell police chief, retired for about a weekend and then went to work. Roger Nasset, how are you?
Great, John. How are you?
Oh, good. Good to have you here today.
Yeah.
I know this whole homeless situation is something that gets to you, not only as a police officer, but in the work that you do in the community now. Talk with us a little about that.
Well, it's I guess I could summarize about 24 years of my experience with law enforcement. We dealt with the homeless, the transients, essentially on a daily basis. And, really never thought a whole lot about it until I became chief. I was chief for almost 12 years. And as chief, I would come in the front door of the police department on a daily basis, early in the morning, 6:30. And there would be homeless people occasionally in the lobby. And I started talking with those people and learning a little bit about their history. And it became something that was, really kind of fascinating to me. And it made me reflect back on how we were dealing with the homeless in the community. And I think it was not a lack of compassion. It was more a lack of understanding and knowing exactly how to deal with the situation. Not that we know completely how to deal with it now, but throughout my career, we would find homeless camps in Woodland Park and Lawrence Park, different places around town where they'd set up their encampments, and we would move them along. We would, for instance, in Woodland Park, would get rid of the trees and the shrubs so they couldn't hide out, and then would kick them down the road. I called it kicking the can down the road because that's what we were doing. We weren't really accomplishing anything. We were just pushing the problem further out.
I think the common perception is that go get a job. Just go get a job. Don't be lazy.
Right.
And I suppose some people could go get a job. I suppose some people could get a little more energy. But as you say, there are other reasons why people find themselves in this situation.
Right. And, that's where getting back to talking to these people in the lobby of the police department, I started to realize a lot of these people were common people like you and I, but they were down on their luck. And, for instance, I talked to one gentleman, probably late 20s, maybe early 30s. He had broke up with his girlfriend. He had a job, but he did not have enough income to get a place to live. So he was living out of his vehicle. But this, I think, particular case, it was like in a February, extremely cold, and he couldn't stay in his vehicle. It was just too cold. He didn't have the money to keep the gasoline in the vehicle running. And I started to realize that these are people that are trying, some of them. Of course, there are some bad actors out there too. Everybody knows that. Yeah. But there are some really good people that are trying, and making a living in the Flathead Valley is not easy.
You, as a police officer, have seen the best of life and the worst of life.
Absolutely.
And so, really, does anything surprise you anymore?
No, not really. I think as we get a little bit older, maybe we get some wisdom, and what we see, we analyze and take in a little bit differently. But no, not a whole lot surprises me anymore.
The thing that, and I want to just clarify here, is when you go into work, your police officers working nights and overnights would come upon these people, and it was cold.
Right.
And they bring them into the police department because they had nowhere else to go.
Right. And they had nowhere else to go, but at the same time, we had a responsibility as a caretaker to make sure that they didn't freeze to death.
There was no reason to put them in jail.
No, there was no criminal charge. There was no reason. We didn't have a warm shelter at that time. And some of the other housing agencies in the valley didn't have emergency take-in, so we could pick somebody up at 3 o'clock in the morning, make a call, and get them in, or whatever the situation may be.
We understand that there's some issues with mental health involved in this too, and this is nothing new to a police officer.
No, and I saw this throughout my career, and I served on the Chiefs of Police Association for the state of Montana, so I saw it throughout the state of Montana. And we went through the phase where not only mental health, but addiction money went away. And a lot of these people that are transients in our community, 15 years ago, may have been in a facility getting treated for their issues. And a lot of those resources went away. And I think that's why we're seeing an influx across the country, is lack of funding for treating the core problem.
Addiction. Addiction sometimes has permanent consequences in terms of mental health.
It does, yeah, absolutely. We see those that you can tell have overused and, have lost some brain capacity as a result of it.
Well, now back last month, you spoke before the Kalispell City Council when the warming center question was up. Talk with us a little bit about what you told the council.
Essentially what we've talked about just now, and it is that the warming center is here to cooperate with the city government, with the county government, with the law enforcement, with all first responders, and try to find a solution for this problem. No longer kick it down the road. Let's pull up our pants and make sure that we make great decisions and make our community a better place. Because if we can make the homeless situation less of a situation, our community is better. So let's work together to do that.
Well, let's talk a bit about some of your suggestions for working together and seeing if we can make a big difference here. Roger Nasset, our former Kalispell Police Chief, is my guest. We'll talk more in a minute.
It's coming June 22nd, and you won't want to miss it. Climb Big Mountain 2024. Lace up your hiking boots and conquer the Danneon Trail to Summit House. Enjoy breathtaking views, delicious food, live music, and even face painting for the kids. Plus this year's swag bags packed with surprises, including gift cards worth up to $50. It's the perfect opportunity to explore the beauty of our own backyard, support a good cause, and make unforgettable memories with friends and family. Don't let this adventure pass you by. Mark your calendar, June 22nd. Register today. Climb Big Mountain 2024. See you at the summit. Let's climb together, celebrating Flathead Industries' 32nd year. For information and registration, visit flatheadindustries.org.
At Emmanuel Living, their vibrant community is more than just a place to live. It's a place to thrive. Their community is full of activity, offering residents a dynamic environment to engage and connect. You'll enjoy a rich array of social events, clubs, and recreational opportunities designed to invigorate and to inspire. From fitness classes to cultural outings, there's always something exciting happening. Their commitment to fostering an active and engaging environment ensures that residents can lead enriching lives filled with joy and purpose. Discover all that Emmanuel Living has to offer. Inquire today at 406-752-9625 and start your journey toward meaningful, vibrant living.
And now, back to Warming Center Wednesdays with the Flathead Warming Center and KGEZ's John Hendricks.
And today we welcome former Kalispell Police Chief Roger Nasset. So let's first kind of reset the stage here, Roger. As a Kalispell police officer for over a quarter century and chief for almost half of that time, right. Did you observe this kind of homelessness?
It was a little bit different situation then. Certainly we did not have the numbers. I mean, we've seen the influx nationally that we've seen here locally, and I think probably even a little more locally than nationally. And we had those problems when I was with the police department. However, it was more not downtown. A lot of our transient issues were in the woods, down by the old Walmart, where they weren't seen a lot. The transients would pass through or the homeless would pass through. And you'd see them occasionally, but we did not see them like we do gathered now.
Mm-hmm. So had there been a place like the warming center, how would that have helped your situation as police chief?
Well, of course, during the months that the warming centers opened, we would have a place to take somebody that we were responsible for, essentially. And the warming center holds 5 beds for first responders. So if it's somebody that's chronically calling the ambulance, and it's only because they want to stay warm or something like that. If we have a homeless person that is trespassing, no criminal offense per se, or else somebody doesn't want to press charges, it gives a place to take them and make sure that they're safe. We didn't have that before.
Well, now the people that live in the neighborhood around the warming center on North Meridian Road, they're complaining that there's criminal activity going on and that there's some activity that just isn't beneficial to their homes and businesses.
Absolutely. And I feel for those people. I understand what they're saying. I'm certainly not saying that there aren't some issues surrounding the warming center, but I believe we can make them better, and I think there's some things that we can do to fix that. But just saying no and not doing anything with these individuals, trying to not get them back on their feet is not the right answer. So, exactly what the right solution is, I wish I could tell you exactly what that is. I don't know. I certainly don't feel good that somebody is getting the brunt of this in the community because they shouldn't have to. Unfortunately, the homeless are out throughout town. I just drove through town and, I see homeless around. So, it doesn't go away in the rest of the area of town either. But when they congregate in one place for a warm bed, of course, they're coming to that one spot. And we saw, a result of that. But now, rather than just say, okay, that was a failure, let's try to fix it.
So how can we fix it?
I think especially like transportation. If we had transportation where we could get these individuals to the warming center without all of them walking through the neighborhoods and then bus them back out to wherever they need to go, hopefully to whatever they do during the day, so they're not congregating in that area. We obviously want to work with the community, so if there are things that we can handle as a warming center to help them with the individuals that are creating the problem, we'll do it. Of course, I'm not law enforcement anymore. The rest of the Flathead Warming Center board of directors and employees, we're not law enforcement, so it's not safe to send us out there if somebody's being disorderly or something like that. But I think communication will help fix the issue.
You've been involved in city government a long time. Right. You have, as police chief, your job was to interact with the city council and city staff. Well, you were part of city staff.
Right.
And how do we approach this with the city? How do we, are we talking about modifying the conditional use permit? What are we talking about here?
I think that's exactly what we're talking about, is finding ways that we can work together under that conditional use permit to make the community better. Saying that we didn't meet the standards that they say we should have met, I don't think is the appropriate way to move forward. This problem is not going to go away if the warming center goes away. On the other hand, I do believe that there are a lot of success stories coming out of the warming center. People don't go to the warming center and just get a bed. We give them a plan on how to succeed.
Well, that's it. One night isn't going to change anything.
Right. We hope we can touch everybody, but the longer that they stay there, they have rules. It's low barriers, but we have standards, and they've got to abide by those. And there are rules. They've got to progress. They've got to be getting better to continue to stay there.
Well, now you've seen the situation with and without a warming center. What happens if we lose the warming center?
I think we go back to a situation where it was a free-for-all, essentially. Right now we know that we're helping people, and I think less people would be helped, obviously. We would see transients dispersed more around the city, the homeless dispersed more around the city, and I don't think that's the right answer. Let's try to find a problem before we're overrun completely by it. Find a resolution to the problem.
One of the things I've heard, rumors I've heard, is that other cities like Columbia Falls and Whitefish that don't have a warming center are sending their homeless people down here to Kalispell.
Yeah, and I have no doubt that's the case. And to be honest with you, that's happened for many, many years before the warming center, including us. We would send individuals to places where resources are available. We would send people to Whitefish to get on the train. And that's nothing new. Of course, now it's emphasized because people want to use that excuse. And we do know people are coming here because of the warming center. Is it a lot? I don't believe so. And I don't know that we have a full grasp on exactly what that number is. We do know the people that are coming to the warming center, the majority of them are people that have been in this valley for a while.
You are now working for Two Bear Air as a security officer. Would security around the warming center help the situation?
You know, it probably would. I work for Two Bear Services Group.
Okay.
So close, but
Yeah.
I think it would. And I think it would help, along with transportation, it would help get people away from the warming center, out of that community during the day, so the locals in that area didn't feel the burden of the warming center being in whatever location it's at.
Is that even financially feasible?
It would be tough. Of course, right now, all of our, the taxpayers don't pay anything for the warming center. It's all donated funds. And that's not easy. Getting donated funds is a lot of work. It could help. Is it feasible? It would be a project.
But maybe that is part of the answer.
It could be. It certainly could. And I think that's the type of discussion that we need to have. And we could have that discussion with the police department and the city government and the county government. And right now the dialogue has been extremely minimal other than in the public setting. And we've asked, to sit down and have those conversations. And it's a hard conversation. We don't have all the answers and they don't have all the answers, but I think we need to sit down and hash it out.
You feel after your conversation the other night that the city council wants to solve the problem, or do they want to get rid of it?
It appears that they want to get rid of it, and I understand. I was on the other side of that fence, like we're talking about, and they hear all the negative that's coming out of the warming center, that's coming out of the community. I don't believe that they get to see all the positive that's coming out of the warming center, and so we're hoping that they'll open their ears to the rest of the conversation.
I want to give you a chance to have the last word on this. Kalispell's former Police Chief Roger Nasset.
I think it's just exactly what we've talked about, John. It's a matter of having this tough conversation and making the homeless situation better so it doesn't get worse and so it doesn't even stay what it was prior to the warming center, which is not a good situation.
I'm sure we both wish there were easier answers.
Right, exactly.
There aren't any.
No.
All right. Thank you so much for a great conversation today.
Absolutely. Thank you, John.
Thank you for joining us for another Warming Center Wednesday. Did you miss it, or would you like to share it with friends? Find today's and past shows via flatheadwarmingcenter.org. It's Warming Center Wednesdays on KGEZ 96.5 FM and 600 AM.